Hello, and welcome to Tom Myers versus the rest of the world. I don't know if you heard in the news, but this past week, Donald Trump was convicted of all 34 counts of falsification of business documents when he paid off Stormy Daniels to keep her quiet about a sexual relationship that Trump had with her years ago. Trump must feel bad as he never even had 34 wins the entire time that he owned the New Jersey Generals football team. This proves that Donald Trump and I are not alike. For instance, after I have sex with someone, the woman pays me not to talk about it, which is why I can afford to stay at home and do this podcast. The fact that Stormy Daniels was a key witness that led to a guilty verdict just proves what I've been saying all along. Porn stars will save this country. And this Thanksgiving may be the first one where I get to declare that in front of my family without being asked to leave the table. Donald Trump's supporters are convinced that his conviction has something to do with a deep state conspiracy. Well, they're half right. The conspiracy is that they're so fucking stupid that they don't understand that the laws and the criminal justice system also apply to white people. People who don't support Donald Trump wish he would follow the path of Jimmy Carter, the only other surviving one-term president, and check into a hospice. Do you know how bad you have to fuck up if you're a rich white guy and you're still found guilty at a trial? Basically, it's like an exclusive club where the only members are Trump and Harvey Weinstein. Don Jr. and Eric Trump both posted on their social media feeds about their disdain for the guilty verdict. That's a great way for Donald to remember his kids' names. Trump supporters are comparing him being found guilty to Jesus being found guilty. I won't buy the comparison until I win the sweepstakes to hammer in the first nail. Coincidentally enough, your crazy Trump-supporting uncle is now professing his undying love for the presumptive Republican presidential nominee just in time for Pride Month. And on that note, on with the show. Please join me in welcoming Jeff Hysen, Michele Wojciechowski, Polite Kitty, and David Kaye.
Hey, Tom.
Hey.
Hello.
Everyone, I think we all pretty much had a nice break, and what a great story to come back to.
I still think about that moment when you're standing there, because I stood up like it was the bottom of the ninth, and you're expecting one or two, maybe a split decision, but I never thought it was going to be unanimous every single count. It was a glorious day.
I mean, I think that's where like Mets fans and Orioles fans have something in common. We're totally shocked when we get a clean sweep in anything.
I mean, everything can go well. At least it did for the moment. I did read about one guy today who I think everyone will like this. The Trump supporter who said he can't vote for him again, not because he had an affair with a porn star, but he doesn't respect him anymore because Trump wasn't smart enough to figure out how to keep it quiet.
Oh, man.
And which is weird because Trump's never been able to keep anything quiet. Like he talks about it, he posts about it on his socials. It's like, why?
You know, that's true. You're absolutely right. How was he able to not open his big mouth? He didn't even remember.
It's because he's saying this. All these Democrats having sex with all these porn stars all the time. Everybody is having sex with porn stars. But not me. I've never had a sex with a porn star ever.
Which is quite ironic because I think at the time, technically Donald Trump was calling himself a Democrat. I think because George W. Bush was in the White House, that was his big thing. He was going after Bush at the time. Which, I mean, I was on the record back then as saying, well, Donald Trump should run for president. This is back when people thought he was people outside New York thought he was a liberal Democrat. I thought to myself, if he's the nominee of our party or the Democratic Party, then I won't be able to vote for him. So it's like I like to think that I willed him to go to the Republican Party. So now he's their problem. I like to think it's all on me. The complete destruction of the party of Abraham Lincoln is on me. I'll take the blame for that.
Well done.
Well, if you're one of my clients, I'll just tell you, manifesting is real, Tom. Just keep manifesting.
See, and I was going to put his ego in check and say, I don't think you have that kind of power.
I was just getting ready to say, I don't think Polite wants me as a client. Like, I don't think I need a lot of help, and I don't think she's willing to put in the effort.
Now, I'm surprised that you thought that it might have been a split decision versus because I figured it was going to be all or nothing, because every one of the 34 counts were all intermingled together. I didn't think you could find it. They could have found him guilty of some and not guilty of the other. It all had to be together. But to think that it only took them less than 8 to 10 hours to deliberate, and part of that time was asking questions of the judge for instruction, and a repeat of the testimony from Michael Cohen and from Pecker about those specific meetings, finding out whether or not Trump knew, and they absolutely synced up on their testimony, and there was just no way he could not be found innocent of any of those crimes. So I was I was so damn happy when it happened. It was I was following it on NBC, their updates, and then I saw guilty 1, guilty 2, guilty 3, and they just kept coming back. I was like, oh, this is just beautiful. Mm-hmm. And then I just flipped over to CNN, and they were talking about it there, and I was like, this is it's good. It's good for our country that justice is being served, but it's just widening the divide and greater rancor amongst the Democrats and Republicans.
Well, I'm showing my solidarity. I mentioned this before the show. I'm wearing my prison jumpsuit orange to commemorate the occasion, as you can see on the various promo bits that I put out.
And I want everybody to know that when David referred to the person, David Pecker, he said Pecker, and Tom didn't giggle. So that's just a lot of growth. A lot of growth.
I was going to say, congratulations, Tom. We've matured.
It's a new concept. I'm not used to it.
But what was the right amount of time they should have been out? They said, well, they were only out for 8 hours. That's a long time. You have 12 people plus the 12 people sitting there that's a long time to be talking. And they could have done it and said, we want to go home. We've been away from our families. We want to go home. I don't know, but the Republicans are going, these people rush through that. There's no shot clock here.
I'm in a room with 10 comics at an open mic, and I want to run my head into a fucking wall. I mean, mad props to these jurors. And Trump wanted to go ahead and move it to an area that was friendly to him, but like knowing that particular venue, if it was a jury that supported Trump, they would probably have tried to fill the verdict form in using their own feces.
But you put an X.
Okay, we all just discovered he has not matured, so it's our regular Tom. Well, feel better.
I gotta give my OG fans something, you know.
You could have said big crayons or something, Sharpies, finger paints, but no.
We all know where we were when certain major news events took place. For example, whenever a mass murder takes place, I know where I am. I just won't tell you, because my attorney and I are working on my alibi. Get on that, by the way, Jeff. The reading of the unanimous guilty verdicts is a momentous occasion, as is evidenced on this clip from MSNBC when Ari Melber and Rachel Maddow analyze the verdict as it happens.
We've got a verdict. Ari Melber.
We are looking at count 1, guilty. Count 2, guilty. Count 3, guilty. Count 4, guilty. Count 5, guilty. Those are the first 5 counts coming out of this jury, finding Donald J. Trump guilty on the first 5 felony counts. Reading the rest as we are getting it from our court reporters.
Starting with count 6.
Count 6, guilty. Count 7, guilty. Count 8, guilty. And you'll see on the screen we're tracking ahead. Count 9, guilty. Count 10, guilty. Count 11, guilty. Count 12, guilty. Count 13, guilty. Count 14, guilty. Count 16, guilty. Count 17, guilty. Count 18, guilty. Count 19, guilty. Count 20, guilty. Count 21, guilty. Count 22, guilty. Count 23, guilty. Count 24, guilty. Count 25, guilty. Count 26, guilty. Count 27, we're seeing that on screen, guilty. Count 28, guilty. Those are the first 28 felony counts here as read by the jury. Count 29, guilty. Count 30, guilty. Count 31, guilty. Count 32, guilty. Count 33 and 34, guilty. That is Donald J. Trump, defendant in New York versus Donald Trump, found guilty on all 34 felony counts. That is the verdict here in this case.
Rachel?
Listen, it's a unanimous jury verdict, unanimous on all counts. This is a definitive and, this is an irreducible verdict.
Now, I was out and about, I was out in a park doing some writing. So I had the Sirius app on my phone, and I had it tuned to this network. So I thought it was nicer to listen to it as opposed to just watching it, because I feel like the graphics guy was just kind of spoiling everything for us. Like whoever was just plugging that in, like, okay, you're kind of ruining it. There's always someone who has to ruin a momentous occasion.
I've seen that several times from different networks, and it's still just as satisfying. I feel like I need a cigarette after every time I watch it.
Fox was almost like it was an auctioneer. I hear 22. Do you hear 23? 23, 23, 24, 24. We got 24 over here. We got 25. We got 25. We got 26. We got 26. Oh yeah, we got. They were great. I like watching Fox do it because it was just so against everything that they could possibly. They were actually giving news. They were actually telling real news in real time. So that was very satisfying for me to see that on a replay.
So it was about 2 minutes where they couldn't spin anything.
Absolutely.
I was going to say, I think we just found David's fetish and kink.
Really? Watching them actually flail about on screen for one time. Yeah, that was it. I did love watching that a lot.
As a man of the people, Donald Trump marked his criminal conviction the way most Americans do, by attending an Ultimate Fighting Championship where the entire crowd is ready to chant their name, as is demonstrated in these clips.
Also with us tonight, 45, being ushered in by UFC CEO Dana White. Donald Trump is in the building, and the former president getting a standing ovation from the assembled masses here at UFC 302. Well, you had a sneaking suspicion that former President Trump would be in the building for UFC 302. He is a rabid mixed martial arts fan. I kind of feel like he's betting on these fights when he's not actually here.
Boy, the round of applause he's getting right now is pretty staggering. And you had to imagine that's what was going to happen. Thank you, sir.
Donald Trump, Mercedes Lewis, also in the building. Former
protesting. He's not even picking the arm up.
Kevin Holland sharing a moment with Donald Trump and Dana White.
President Trump, you're the man, bro. It is a damn travesty what they're doing to you. I'll be donating to you, my man. Let's get it done.
Let's get it done. Congratulations, sir. Sean Strickland, ladies and gentlemen.
Remember shut up and dribble? How about shut up and get kicked in the head?
Seriously.
I have no words.
I feel so bad for his fragile, pathetically sad, narcissistic ego that, I mean, you would think that after your trial, you would go home and have some sort of maybe a little bit of reflection or hang out with your family or be around people that you love that can be like, at least give you some kind of console you. But
I think that's exactly what he did. I mean, did you listen to that crowd?
One of the kids was there. We could see him in one.
two rows behind him. You notice, like he wasn't even in the row. Like he wouldn't even sit in the front row with his own son.
Yeah, his son is following him 2 or 3 rows behind.
It's so sad. It really is.
Now, see, why can't Trump get in that ring? I want to see that Ultimate Fighting Championship.
There you go.
I mean, they're all cheering for him anyways. Throw him in.
Yeah, I don't know the dress rules for going to a UFC match, but I would imagine wearing a suit is not required. It's not, right?
It's not a black tie affair. No,
it's not. It's not resort.
You're not. What?
It's not a baseball game in the 60s, you know. It's
yeah, that's right. He's wearing this. It's a baseball game.
Trump's elected GOP supporters who showed up to his trial sporting the red ties are comparable to the uniformed hourly fast food employees thrown to the unhappy mob of customers by the management to explain to them that their ice cream machine is broken. In this clip from a House hearing, Lauren Boebert responds to criticism and gives her explanation as to why her choice of presidential candidate appeared to be drifting off to sleep during his trial.
Now let's look at public reporting. I'm only going to talk about public reporting. His criminal trial started on April 15th, and here's a summary of the press reports. On his first day of his trial, Reuters reported that Trump appeared to doze off during jury selection. On April 16th, it was reported that Trump dropped his head inside the courtroom, keeping his eyes closed before jolting his head upright. On April 19th, the New York Times reported Trump's eyes remained, quote, closed for extended periods during the final day of jury selection. On April 22nd, MSNBC reported that Trump's lawyers were fighting to keep him awake. On April 30th, NBC and the New York Times reported that Trump nodded off for significant portions of witness testimony, and as we all know, basically kept his eyes closed for hours and hours on end. On May 9th, Trump's eyes remained closed for many minutes, and Trump later, of course, dozed on and off. And the reports go on and on. May 13th, Trump was, quote, asleep during the afternoon session. On May 14th, a political reporter said Trump slouched in his seat and closed his eyes and his mouth. Now, here we have a photo of Donald Trump, of course, through some of his trial.
And if in my remaining 1 minute, I could request, every so often, Mr. Garcia, maybe you could just lift up that picture of our President Trump sleeping. As you say, I think he's praying. But if he is sleeping, he certainly looks pretty while he sleeps. Maybe it's an endearing moment of prayer, though. I know when I fall asleep on airplanes, my mouth kind of drops open, and his mouth is kind of tight-lipped. So maybe it's just a somber moment of.
I mean, he's sleeping. It's been reported by multiple press outlets.
I was in the courtroom today,
sleeping.
and I do. I could see why someone would fall asleep, just like George Conway fell asleep today. in the court hearing. You know, it's kind of slow in there. It's not as exciting as the House Oversight Committee, but I just wanted to say that's a lovely picture you have of President Trump, Mr. Garcia. Thank you. And I yield.
And it's also not as exciting as being in a live theater watching a theatrical performance. You're with your date. It's also not as exciting as that. In fact, I think praying is the only excuse that Lauren Boebert didn't use.
If only she had fallen asleep during Beetlejuice, which is a wonderful play, by the way. If only she had fallen asleep, she wouldn't have gotten into such trouble.
Well, I know that's the only way I can get to sleep.
I was gonna say maybe she needs a little more Jesus in her life. I don't know.
You know what? I should. This shouldn't shock me anymore. It really shouldn't. We've been through 8 years of this stuff. When you think back, okay, 8 years, and yet I see this kind of stuff, and I think, and this is what our tax dollars are paying for. How do these people get into office? I just, this is all rhetorical. I know we don't have 16 hours or 8 as the jury did to go.
Or high IQs, you know, or the ability to read. You know?
I just don't understand all this. I really don't get. I knew someone was going to say he was praying. I knew it. And of course, it had to be her. You know, and I can't even believe she can show her face after, you know, her whole thing, but it didn't matter. I don't know. I'm disgusted, Tom. I'm disgusted.
Well, my job here is done then.
That's all I got.
Well, we really do get the politicians we deserve, because the people are out there and they're voting for this kind of ridiculous person to be in office. How bad is it? I mean, I think any one of us could sit in Congress or in the Senate and be more effective than the people that are in there now. So
but here's the problem, David. I would be there saying, are you kidding me? We're wasting time on this crap. You know what I mean? I am ruined for 9 to 5, and I am ruined for being a politician. I couldn't put up with it. I couldn't stand it. I wouldn't want to waste the rest of my life. I wouldn't want to waste any of my time. I
was in politics and political campaigns for 10 years, and I'm with you on that one. And I worked for mostly Democratic campaigns as well, which just shows you how fucked up things are.
The bar on doing better than the members of Congress is not a high one.
Yeah.
No, it is not.
As with anything involving Donald Trump, a debate about his treatment at his trial usually derails and the disaster factor escalates quite quickly, as we can see in this video of Trump supporters and their opposing protesters outside the courthouse in New York.
Hunter Biden's laptop matters! Hunter Biden's laptop matters! Hunter Biden's laptop matters!
So far it hasn't been a thing.
So show me your California ID.
So far it hasn't not manifested. Lock him up.
You got welfare cheese, bitch.
That's not being a woman, honey. You are disgusting.
You're a man. You're a man, bitch. You can't take away biology, bitch. You're a man. You're a brick. You're a brick, bitch. You look like a man.
Bitch, you look hard. You look hard. Never, darling. Never. You are a charlatan. That's what
Fuck charlatan. Your point. Your point. Your point.
Yeah, this is you, charlatan. That's what you is. That's what you is.
And people wonder why I don't want to go out anymore.
It's like Jerry Springer's show has come back.
$5,000.
Now it's just everywhere on the streets.
I want to point out it cost $5,000 for that work.
9,000.
9, she said?
9. Yeah. Well, I watched that video quite a few times, so I mean, I had to edit it.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then the woman next to her holding the lock 'em up sign, moving the sign over as if it's going to block the display. I thought that was the sign wasn't big enough, but it was a very, I'm sorry, but it was that was funny too. The older woman with the lock him up sign.
I still don't know what she was blathering about. Whose side was she on? And it was odd that she had an AIDS Walk T-shirt from 2019. What the hell
she
was that even?
Walking for I do not understand. And what was the point? Look, I have ginormous boobs. I don't understand. I don't. What I got nothing, guys. I don't understand people at all.
Let me ask Polite this. On the intersection, if there's a Venn diagram of people who do AIDS walks and people who are concerned about the Hunter Biden laptop, is she the only one there in the intersection? What do you think?
Yes.
The only thing that meets in the middle of that intersection are boobs, and I'm going to do
big intersection.
It's a very small intersection.
All right, Tom, I'll just say it right now. Thank you. That's the most action I've had in the last 3 years, And I agree. Free the boobies.
And on that wonderfully uplifting note, that's our show. I want to thank Jeff Hysen, Michele Wojciechowski, Polite Kitty, and David Kaye.
Yay. Always a pleasure to be with all of you folks.
Yeah.
Yes.
But before we go, my final thought. Welcome to the 7th installment in our series, Are You Better Off Now Than 4 Years Ago? Spoiler alert, the answer is yes. 4 years ago this week, the United States ended the month of May with 1.77 million confirmed coronavirus cases, 103,781 deaths, and 14 million COVID tests completed. This was after then President Trump, back in March, had said the number of cases would go from 15 to 0. In June 2020, the total civilian non-farm unemployment rate was at 11.1%, still recovering from the biggest 3-month increase in the unemployment rate since the Great Recession of 2008, according to numbers provided by the Bureau of Labor Statistics. On this day 4 years ago, the Dow Jones Industrial Average closed at 30,606.48. It was a nice rebound for Wall Street corporations and the top of the wealth bracket, but like most stock market booms, did little to help a vast majority of the country, barely scraping by and unable to invest anything. Gas prices continued to rise, as is customary during the summer months, save for the summer of 2022. And in the month of June of 2020, the price of a gallon of regular gas went above $2, a seemingly better value than now, but keep in mind that at the time, less fuel was being consumed because nobody was going anywhere because, remember this? We were still under lockdown, some of us, because of a contagious and severe respiratory virus. In short, are we better off today than we were 4 years ago? In case you need to be reminded, and hell, all of you do, then the answer is yes. Good night. This episode was written and hosted by Tom Myers with panelists Jeff Hysen, Michele Wojciechowski, Polite Kitty, and David Kaye. Theme music composed and arranged by Jeroen van den Hurck. Executive producers Tom Myers, Matt Connarton for ipmNation, and Eddie Carson for Odyssey Radio. Please leave a 5-star rating and a positive review on Apple Podcasts. And don't forget to subscribe to the Patreon, patreon.com/Tom Myers, for ad-free episodes, extended episodes, and bonus clips. Thank you for listening, and please visit tommyers.us.